Hola, Pilipinas! Welcome to Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Archie Rose Natividad, coming to you from Vancouver in the province of British Columbia, Canada, bringing you news and commentary from across the country. Here are some of the stories we'll cover today. Alex Trebek dies at age 80. British Columbia issues new public health orders amid surging COVID cases. Ontario's action plan, protect, support, recover. Ottawa under restrict measures based on new COVID-19 response framework. Americans in overseas territories share thoughts on recurring issues during elections. We start another week. Good Monday morning. As you're grabbing a fresh cup of coffee, here is what the weather looks like. First, let's check out Manila. AccuWeather is forecasting a high of 26 degrees Celsius with cloudy skies. Now let's look at the weather across Canada. Our weather street scene comes from New Westminster in British Columbia. Thanks to Rondel Holgado for this video. Let's go across the country starting from the West Coast. Vancouver, Canada, sunny at 9 degrees. Edmonton, cloudy at -7 degrees. Calgary, cloudy at -7 degrees. Winnipeg, mostly cloudy at 18 degrees. Montreal, sunny at 17 degrees. Ottawa, sunny at 20 degrees. Toronto, sunny at 18 degrees. Halifax, mostly cloudy at 7 degrees. St. John's, New Brunswick, cloudy at 7 degrees. Now over to our top stories. A Canadian icon has passed away. Alex Trebek, host of trivia game show Jeopardy for 37 years, passed away peacefully at home after battling pancreatic cancer. Born in Sudbury, Ontario on July 22, 1940, Alex Trebek started his broadcasting career at CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, in 1961 and worked his way to being a host on CBC radio, TV, and game shows. He then moved to the United States and began his career hosting Jeopardy in 1984. Jeopardy became the #1 quiz show in the US for over a decade. Alex Trebek has won 5 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Game Show Host, the Peabody Award in 2012, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and in 2017, he was made an Officer of the Order of Canada, a Canadian national order and the second highest honor for merit. He also holds a Guinness World Record for being the longest-serving game show host for the same program, filming over 8,200 episodes for Jeopardy! In 2011, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. In March 2019, he announced to viewers that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Alex Trebek filmed his last episode on October 29, and Jeopardy! Will air episodes with Trebek until December 25th. Joining us live is Eagle News correspondent Jeanette Duazo to report on British Columbia's new public health orders amid surging COVID cases. Good morning, Jeanette.
Hi, good morning, Archie, and good morning to our viewers. So, as of yesterday, British Columbia top doctor, Dr. Bonnie Henry, issued public health regional orders for the Vancouver coastal and Fraser Health regions. This is to limit social interactions effective November 7 until November 23. So those kind of orders, they have each time has 14 days. So we'll wait until November 23 and see if there will be another one after that. So the new order will significantly reduce social interactions. As it falls within a public health emergency, it can be enforced by police or other compliance and enforcement officials. So those who will not follow, they said they could be fined. So what are those orders? What does it entail? So it entails social interactions and gatherings. So socializing is allowed only with members of immediate households. Last week, they issued an order saying that it could be extended up to six people outside of the household. As of yesterday, only immediate household members. So, and and with that, no gathering of any size. So, funerals, weddings, and any community-based social gatherings at any locations are not allowed, including events of fewer than 50 people. So from before, we're allowed to have 50 people for each event. Now it's like really zero. So also group physical activities, indoor group physical activities like spin classes, yoga, fitness, and dance classes. So with that, there's a little bit of uproar on that because you know how people are going, through this mental fatigue of thinking about COVID, and having these physical activities is one way of steaming out, right? And also other activities like boxing, martial arts, hockey, volleyball, and basketball. So, so for the indoor group physical activities, they can only resume with an updated COVID-19 safety plan for venues and approved, and it has to be approved by medical health officer. So in our report last week on COVID-19 cases, daily reports show 200 new cases and upwards. That's daily, 200, right? So that was last week. So this past week, from October 31 to November 6, new cases were recorded at close to 400 new cases daily, with the most current report on November 6th with 589 new cases. So it's really like pushing people to that panic section now, right? So for a quick summary, as of November 6th, British Columbia has 589 new cases, 3,741 active cases, 275 confirmed deaths. This is from the beginning of the pandemic. So total cases of 17,149. And these numbers are the ones reported to the health authorities since the start of the pandemic. Back to you, Archie.
Thank you, Jeanette. It's these restrictions will definitely affect many others, especially when it comes to their mental health. But in the news, it's been reported that places that hold dance classes and even some fitness studios have become what's called super spreaders of COVID-19. So, what are your thoughts about these new restrictions?
These new restrictions for some people, there's so many sides to it, right? Some people would say, well, what's going on here? Okay, these venues are closed, but some businesses and schools are still open. So there's a banter that's, coming back and forth with these other people. And then also some people are now going into that area of like critically looking into this, like the credibility of what's really going on, I'm speaking to some people on the alternative medicine side where they said, well, wait a minute, why don't we go into the details of this? How bad is this COVID-19 compared to the regular influenza? There's influenza A and B, right? So is it really that bad? And some people are, I'm just saying some, I'm not saying this is like out there because when someone speaks up on a different side of this whole issue, people are like coming down and chopping them down right away, right? So some sectors, they're doing their own researches, and they probably write some articles about it, and some people are saying, well, it's no different than the regular flu. So with the person, they come to the like points of percentages when it comes to, okay, so who died? Are these people actually healthy people who died? And is this, if these are healthy people, does that, put this COVID-19 to that level of really bad and really fatal? Or are these people who are dying are, really have compromised immune, the elderly and those who have pre-existing conditions? So it's really, it depends on who's looking at it. But having said that, with this number of new cases that's coming up daily, and we are now closing to that 600 mark on a daily basis, it's really kind of scary for some people who does not really know much about this COVID-19.
Definitely. It is unprecedented. And whenever there's other health sectors who are looking into it critically, comparing it to the regular flu season, or we're also going into winter. So that would also affect people's health or immune systems. All this type of work and research and analysis will hopefully help, help provide some insight on what could be done for vaccines, for any types of cures. But, like you mentioned, BC is trending towards over 600 cases, the most recent at 589. Do you think people are growing impatient, being in quarantine? Are they, feeling uncomfortable now that they are taking the risk and unfortunately, being affected by COVID-19 cases now?
Yes, I believe so. I do keep an eye on some articles that I see on a daily basis. There's some people, they would say, it is really showing impatience. Some people say, I'd rather die with COVID than loneliness. That's very sad. That's very sad. But, some people, especially government and, those in authority, they are doing their best. If they are seen not doing what they're supposed to do, then what? People will also blame them, right? Oh, you didn't do enough, but with all these things, like, it seems like no one really has a concrete answer what this COVID-19 is about. No vaccine yet, right? So what we could do and help encourage each other is to have our immune system, up there, take your vitamin C as much as you can, get, vitamin D from the sun. And there's also, those kind of stuff. But again, it's one of those, we have to be strong mentally, especially with this, at this time also of the year, a lot of people are going through that, we call that SAD, right? The seasonal something. But anyway, it's really hard. It's really hard to balance. And all we could do is, continue to, as what Dr. Bonnie Henry said, continue to be kind, to take care of yourself so you can also take care of each other.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Still to come, Ontario's action plan: protect, support, recover. Ottawa under restrict measures based on new COVID-19 response framework. Americans in overseas territories share thoughts on recurring issues during elections. You are watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume for UK. FI on to 100%. Traffic ban. Construction.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Archie Rose, Natividad from Vancouver. Ontario presents a new action plan to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic in the province. Eagle News correspondent Ashley Sagmar reports.
Today, November 5th, the provincial government presented Ontario's action plan, Protect, Support, Recover. This is the next phase of a 3-year-long plan meant to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. The action plan was presented by Ontario's Minister of Finance, Rod Phillips, and will focus on 3 key pillars: protect, support, and recover. Take a look.
First, we are taking steps to protect people from this deadly virus by increasing our health investments to $15.2 billion. Second, we are building on earlier relief to provide a total of $13.5 billion in direct support for families, workers, and employers, in addition to $11.3 billion in cash flow support. And third, we're removing barriers to recovery and providing $4.8 billion to protect and create jobs now and in the future. This next phase of Ontario's action plan brings our total COVID-19 response to $45 billion over 3 years.
The $45 billion plan was created to be flexible should circumstances during the pandemic change. While Minister Phillips recognized that the economy has suffered during the pandemic, he addressed the importance of having a plan during these uncertain times.
There is still great uncertainty in the global economy, and this means more risk to the Ontario budget, just as it does for family and business budgets. That is why we are setting aside $4 billion next year and $2 billion the year after that in dedicated pandemic contingency funds to ensure resources are there when they are needed for our citizens. Nobody knows for certain what direction the pandemic will take or what direction the economy will take. We need to be prepared for anything.
$13.5 billion will focus on supporting people and jobs by providing extra funding to parents, seniors, and community groups who have been severely impacted by the pandemic, while $4.8 billion will be used in efforts to rebuild a stable economy, such as investing in employment services and addressing unfair property tax rates. $15.2 billion of the plan is going towards protecting frontline workers and the public by providing extra funding for hospitals and long-term care homes that have been hit particularly hard during the pandemic. Here is the Minister of Finance with more details.
We are spending a total of $8.3 billion this year to support our frontline healthcare heroes and protect people from COVID-19. This includes supporting 141 hospitals and healthcare facilities, 626 long-term care homes. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 has added extraordinary costs to hospital budgets. So I am today announcing an additional $572 million to ensure Ontario hospitals have the necessary resources to provide the care that is needed.
However, the government states that the action plan comes with an unavoidable $38 billion deficit. Premier Doug Ford ensures that they will spare no expense against the fight of COVID-19, and that every Ontarian will benefit from the action plan. Ultimately, the plan aims for a long-term, sustainable recovery that can handle the pressures in the aftermath of the pandemic, and to ensure Ontarians will have assistance both during and after COVID-19. In Toronto, Ashley Sagmar, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Ashley. Joining us live is Eagle News correspondent Andre Lajoie to tell us how Ottawa is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Good morning, Andre.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. In Ottawa now, in restriction measures right now, according to the Ottawa Public Health, the city of Ottawa is currently classified as orange. Under intermediate measures or restrict measures starting November 7, 2020. This measure is based on a new COVID-19 response framework implemented by the Government of Ontario. This is a good news for the restaurant as indoor dining returns. Good news as well for gyms, casinos, recreational services centers, and small business owners. What this means is, according to the framework guidelines, restrict measures is implemented enhanced measures restrictions and enforcement avoiding any closures. For the restaurant, bars, food, and drink establishments, they can now open with limit of 50 persons indoor capacity. Also limit operating for the hours to close at 10 p.m. No consumption or alcohol between 10 p.m. and 9 a.m. A limit of 4 people that may be seated together in closure for strip clubs. Also, gyms reopens and proposed measures are maximums of 50 capacity per facilities in the combined recreational fitness space or programs. Not pools, rinks, arenas, community centers, and multi-purpose facilities. Also screening a patron is still a warrant with a limit with the duration to stay and no spectators, exceptions for parents or guardians of children. Currently in Ottawa, there's 595 active cases and 7,438 confirmed cases in COVID-19. This is André Lajoie for Eagle News in Ottawa, Canada.
Thank you, Andre. It looks like the Ottawa government is working very hard to try to balance reinvigorating the economy there, but also trying to keep the surge of cases down. However, it still continues to rise. So can you please share your thoughts or how you feel about the surge in cases?
Yes, Archie. As you know, in the last spring in Quebec side, we had to close the borders to Quebec to Ontario. Now on Quebec side, we are still on the red zone. And in Ottawa, now that we're on orange, people are starting to worry a bit the fact that the people from Quebec that goes across the bridge, as well as people from Ontario, are less thinking about going to Quebec side. We have so many problems on Quebec side. And as you know, also in the hospitals, most of the hospital on Quebec side, Gatineau side, the beds are getting pretty full now, and the nurses are getting worried, tired, or working overtime. Many of the nurses are still thinking about moving from Quebec to Ontario to move to work in Ontario because they're overworked in Quebec side. So, yeah, the people here on our side here are pretty much worried about the situation between red and orange zone right now. So it's not obvious.
Definitely, and it's a very scary situation right now with it being kind of winter and flu season, and families missing each other. So hopefully things take a turn. Thank you so much for joining us, Andre.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
In every election season in the United States, residents in the territories of Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico address numerous recurring topics, ranging from their national identity to being unable to vote for president. Eagle News correspondent Irish Dale Radam from our EBC Micronesia Bureau has more.
I believe that the status quo is okay as far as our relationship with the United States and being a territory.
President is the symbol of democracy and a free nation. And people do not realize Guam is a part of that. So it only depicts the situation we're in. We're not able to vote for him. We might as well not be a part of him, right?
Under current law, American citizens who claim residency in one of 5 U.S. territories are not entitled to participate in the presidential elections. One of those territories in the West Pacific is the island of Guam. Given the recent 2020 elections and ongoing uncertainties, Americans in Guam like Lawrence Payne share his frustration for not being able to take part in the said election process.
Well, it's a conflict of many layers. One, taxation without representation is the loudest cry. So we pay taxes on Guam, yet we do not have a voice of empowerment that dictates the level of tax or the amount of tax. So therefore, that's one of the biggest hurts. We pay tax without proper representation.
Meanwhile, in American Samoa, the question of whether to remain as a territory or as an independent country comes and goes. Many of the residents here prefer things the way they are, while others focus more on immediate issues.
I just don't think independence is in the future for us. I don't think we have the resources that it takes to be independent, which is, with me, fine. I think the money that we get from the United States, as far as supplying, much of our economy, is deserving. I hear a lot of talk sometimes about American Samoa being a welfare state, and for me, that's farthest from the truth. I think it's just a matter of the relationship that the United States chose with us, and it makes them responsible, probably make things work towards a better future. I think immigration would be at the top of the list. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can address, but I think immigration is a big problem, particularly when it comes to our economy. And when I say that, I mean that there's a lot of money that's leaving our economy, leaving the island, because of the people we have here as far as immigration. I know it's a necessity, but if you look at the groups here, like for example, the Filipino community, if you ask them how much of their paycheck stays here and how much of their paycheck leaves the island, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a surprising number that's probably not going to benefit the people of American Samoa. And that goes for the Chinese, who's probably the worst offenders. I think I wouldn't be surprised if over 90% of their money leaves off island and isn't in the economy here locally. And then you have, our own brothers and sisters from the independent state of Samoa, where 80% of them, make up the factory workers at the canneries, and most of their money gets sent back. So I think immigration needs to be looked at. I'm not saying to stop immigration. I'm just saying that we need some kind of control over immigration to try and stop the hemorrhaging of the money, that's leaving the islands and stuff.
Better management of the grants that we get for the advancement of our people. It's one thing to get money from the U.S. It's another to make sure that that money is being used properly for the advancement of our people. Another thing, a lot of that money needs to be more put in our education. We are losing our youth. We need more of our youth to go into colleges, to get more educated, to get more knowledge, so they can come back and run this country better.
At present, more than 3.5 million U.S. citizens reside in America's territories in the Caribbean or the Pacific. If ranked among the 50 U.S. states based on population, overseas Americans would be larger than 22 other states in the Union. Reporting from the island of Guam, I am Iris Silverdam, EBC News. We live in interesting times.
That's our program for today. Join us again next week as we bring stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I am Archie Rose Natividad Yi. We live in interesting times. Stay tuned for Kid Cuento.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated G. Ito ay pwede sa lahat ng manonood.